Hello and welcome. The very limited purpose of this video is to offer you a brief reflection on the unique genius of Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, as a political force unmatched by any in the history of our country so far, at least in this particular respect to which I wish to draw your attention. Let me state it upfront, directly and simply. No other political party in the history of this country can come or has come anywhere near the BJP in its capacity to weaponize money in the sphere of politics. Let me explain. Think of the demonetization that struck us like a bolt from the blue in November of 2016. Various reasons were offered at that time, various goals were proposed, and we were told in great and elaborate detail how this was going to help the country and how the short term pain will result shortly in long term gains. The short term pain we have experienced, but the long term gains we are still waiting for, and hopefully they will come. It was very clear to me at that time that the hidden and the real purpose behind demonetization was to put the opposition parties in a state of serious handicap because there's hardly any party which does not have black money, which does not have unaccounted for wealth. So, in one massive, clever masterstroke, Modi deprived these political parties of all these resources. I don't think any candidate in contemporary politics wins an election uh, being 100% honest in submitting the accounts to the election commission. The ceiling fixed by the commission is exceeded sometimes 5 times, 10 times, perhaps even more. So big money plays um, in electoral politics. So what happens to political parties when their resources are seriously curtailed? And BJP is absolutely safe from all such crippling regulations or handicaps. And the consequences are there for all to see. But these consequences have been very cleverly and effectively interpreted to mean that the huge electoral gains of BJP after the elections following demonetization prove the massive pan-Indian popularity of demonetization as a measure. For the life of me, I can't understand how demonetization as an economic measure can appeal to the people of India, particularly the middle class downwards, because all of us were put to enormous difficulties, the degree and kind of difficulties that we would not have tolerated from any other party. So, the demonetization ensured for BJP as a political party incredible advantages. And from that time onwards, BJP was able to leave all parties far behind and surge ahead. Now, take the more recent example or recent examples of how ED is being used. Now, this is such a palpable case, I don't have to go into details. It's not for nothing that various political parties have been saying that BJP is a washing machine, and all those political leaders who otherwise would have been seriously troubled or harassed or by the ED and put to difficulties, including imprisonment, prolonged imprisonment, like some political leaders have experienced, um, makes or offers to the BJP various advantages, one of which being that It acts as a very irresistible motivation for corrupt politicians from various parties to migrate to the BJP and secure their peace by becoming part of the party. Um, uh, Take the more recent example of electoral bonds. Now, who does not know, who cannot uh, decode the scheme of things by which secrecy in making political contributions, electoral contributions, would advantage the ruling party? A quick, simple look at the data pertaining to the electoral bonds proves the enormous advantage that BJP gained through the electoral bonds, which also explains the reason why the State Bank of India is so very reluctant to part towards the information pertaining to the electoral bond scheme at a time when transparency is supposed to be and the right to information is supposed to be a fundamental right of Indian citizens. A scheme was devised by which absolute incoherence, as non-transparency and opaqueness was legitimized, legalized, so that money from corrupt sources or money from sources that want to influence parties in power to protect themselves against possible, um, say, actions by the arm of law could be kept secret and hidden from the public knowledge. So, this is a scheme custom made. It takes a bit of genius to devise schemes like this. You and I can't do it. It's a scheme custom made to ensure opaqueness or non-transparency or secretiveness in contributing to political parties, particularly in order to hide the quid pro quo dimension of electoral contributions. That is to say, you fund the party, and in lieu of it, or in return for which, the party protects your interests, promotes your interests, and enables you to prosper maybe 5 times, 10 times, 100 times the amount that you contribute to the party. Now, the unfortunate part of the electoral bond scheme is that it forges a very unhealthy bond or collusion, collaboration between the state and the corporate sector, and the state and the corporate sector becoming one is actually the very seed of totalitarianism. And with this, money begins to rule electoral politics. And I'm not saying this with respect only to BJP. Any party which is in this kind of a situation will move in this direction. So, the net result of all this is that increasingly the party in power comes into a situation where it can perpetuate itself in power without having to worry about providing good governance. Because if elections can be won with mega money, which is what the electoral bond scheme is supposed to ensure in a very indirect manner, granted, but that is a net result, then the sheer power of money can win you elections. Then why would you worry about evolving schemes or maintaining a style of administration or governance that would prioritize the welfare of the people? With money, you can launch a publicity blitzkrieg. With money, you can influence anything and everything. With money, you can win the war. And therefore, a level playing field in respect of electoral politics is abolished as a necessary, though hidden, result of the electoral bond scheme. I'm so very glad and I'm relieved that it's being abolished. and every citizen of India who cares for democracy in India, for the health of democracy in India, for the future of democracy in India, owes a huge debt of gratitude to the Supreme Court of India for taking this very bold decision. It's not an easy decision to take. It's not the kind of decision that most judges would be happy to take because the consequences could be very severe. Um, and we owe a very huge debt of gratitude to this Constitution bench for taking this very timely and much needed decision. We still wait and see how the order of the Supreme Court will be implemented. I expect hitches because the stakes are very high indeed. But then uh, we must have patience, we must have faith, we must have faith in the destiny of India, that in spite of everything, that ultimately the destiny of 145 crores of Indians will somehow be protected, and that this country will continue the path of political health and the and continue to shine in the global scenario as the largest living or practicing democracy in the world. Thank you.